Welcome, welcome, everybody. Welcome to another Community Fit, and in particular, an Adjusting to Change Toolkit class. I'm your host, James, here with co-host Bob. I don't know how long he's going to be hanging out with us today, but here he is. Show of hands. Hey, Bob. Yep, Bob's like me. Show of hands for anyone who is joining us for the first time ever in this class. I got any brand new? We got a couple of new people. Great. Cool. Okay. Well, we will catch you up on everything you need to know. Number one is this class runs sort of like a course, meaning you can stop in at any given time, but it does build upon itself. So today is our first class out of a 6-week series, meaning we will meet every Friday from now until about the middle of June. And the last week, we always do kind of a review. I wanted to give everyone a little heads up. I wrote out kind of where we're going this series. So, again, not only does this course kind of build upon itself, but we're pulling in things that we have kind of talked about in the past. Again, no worries. We're going to catch any of you new folks up class by class. But we are building upon what we did a couple of series ago, which was all about social regulation and kind of tapping into how our nervous system relates to other nervous systems. And then we're definitely going to bring in some stuff we covered the last time, which is self-regulation, how you can calm, soothe your own nervous system. Now, this class has a lot to do with, thank you. Thank you for the comment on the dog. This class has everything to do with change because stress, anxiety, overwhelm, burnout, trauma is really about the change process. So whether you find yourself going through a personal or professional change, and the fact is, if you're alive, you're going through some sort of a change at any given moment. We're giving you tools to kind of work with that. This series, as we talked about the last series, what we'd be doing this time around, we're really focusing on and working our way towards what is called cognitive reappraisal, which is a way of working with your nervous system and brain, the thought processes of that, two very different things, and working with how we come to understand what it is we're going through and how we can reframe those things. And we're going to take it through, we've got some space in this series. So today's class is all going to be on Nervous System Toolkit, whether you've been with us once, 100 times, or never. The Nervous System Toolkit work is really the foundation of it all. So we're going to introduce that, and that will kind of string our way through. Next class is going to be on emotional literacy, which is going to be a review of some stuff we did a while back, but it's going to be really important because accurately naming the emotions and creating a library of emotions is what unlocks all of the cognitive reappraisal stuff. Then we're going to go into cognitive appraisal and reappraisal. The next week, we're going to go over even more reframing techniques. We're going to talk about how to create habits out of this and some embedding process, more practice, and then we're going to have a review at the tail end. So you can see it kind of builds upon itself, but if you can't come every week, no worries, you can drop in. We also have a ton of recordings on our YouTube page. Then at some point, Raymond, can you drop into the chat a link to our YouTube page? It will have a bunch of different videos on there. They're not coded into like, oh, this series or this series, but if you look at anything from 2025, you will have a pretty good, you have a pretty good on-ramping to where we're headed. I always invite questions. You can put them in the chat as we go, and I will answer them at the end. You can put them in the chat. You can put them in the Q&A function. And I think that covers housekeeping for now. So here is where we're going to start. Nervous System Toolkit work, as I mentioned, is the foundation for everything. And I think of the toolkit as 5 categories. They're like buckets in the way that a hammer is a bucket and screwdriver is a bucket, and you can have different kinds of hammers and different kinds of screwdrivers, and each one has its role and purpose. Like you don't use a screwdriver to do a hammer's job, and you don't use a hammer to do a screwdriver's job. And so I teach these things in big categories and invite you to do more research. Because the fact of the matter is, I can't tell you what's going to ground, soothe, regulate your nervous system because you're a unique individual, and what you need and what she needs and he needs and they need are all very, very different. So I invite you to kind of explore and play with the toolkit, and over the next 6 weeks, keep practicing, keep doing more of it, keep asking questions, and over those 6 weeks, you'll kind of discern like this category works really well for me, this category works really well for me, this one does not work well for me, at least not right now, and this one only works well in these certain situations. And you'll come to understand, we're going to give you the tools and techniques along the way to kind of understand which ones are working for you, which ones do you need to practice more, which ones can you just kind of let go of. So especially if you're brand new to this, if you've been with us for a while, I trust that you've been practicing, trust that you've been exploring and playing and getting curious with this stuff. But if you're brand new, try it all on for size and see which ones work, and get a little commit to practicing one or two things each week so that you can build up that personal relationship with the toolkit stuff. So how do we know the toolkit categories are working or not? Well, it comes down to recognizing and being mindful of baseline. Now, I've talked about mindfulness a ton in other classes. What is mindfulness? I always gravitate towards the work of Dr. Helen Langer here. Mindfulness is not meditation. Those are two different things. Mindfulness is the capacity to have an awareness of context and variability, meaning to be aware of how things within you and around you shift and change over time, and how those things shifting around you impact the way you feel, and how the way you feel impacts the way you interact with what is shifting around you. In short, it's an awareness of aliveness. It's an awareness that things are constantly changing and that nothing is static. And that's really, at its simplest terms, what mindfulness is. Well, how do we practice it? A couple of different ways. The invitation right now is to sit comfortably in a chair and just start to notice one thing about yourself. That might be, for example, how are you breathing right now? Is the breath rich and relaxed, or is it shallow and kind of methodical? Are you forgetting to breathe? None of them are right, none of them are wrong. We're dismissing ourselves from what we think should be, and instead paying attention to how things are in the moment. So you might just notice your breath. You might notice instead like tension levels. Do your shoulders feel up around your ears? Does your belly feel tight? Do your hips feel tight? Or do you feel relaxed, wide, supple, spacious, or somewhere in between those two spectrums? Where are you holding tension? Might be a good question. You might instead notice like racing thoughts, right? Like I keep just thinking about what am I going to do for lunch, or that presentation I have, or that big project, or that event I have this weekend, or an argument I had last night, or whatever it is. You just are kind of perseverating, stuck in that thought loop. Or maybe the vibe of the moment is just off, right? Like you just feel kind of anxious or resistant, or maybe you feel really happy. You're just noticing some aspect of your aliveness in the moment, and you're categorizing that. You're kind of pinpointing it, blotting it on a map. And then we're going to do a practice, and then you're going to notice, did that thing change? That thing I noticed to begin with, did it change? And do I like the way it changed? And if so, that's probably a practice. Whatever that intervention was, that context shift was, that practice in the toolkit, that is probably something you want to remember and practice more of. If it shifted you in a direction you didn't like, it might just not be for you right now. If it didn't do anything at all, it might just not be a practice for you, period, paragraph, right? So just kind of noticing. And again, I can't tell you which ones those are or aren't. You're going to have to do that. You are in your own driver's seat. So do your inventory, take a notice, whatever that is. It can be any of those categories or something different. And the first toolkit category is breathwork. Now, breathwork, we could spend months studying different techniques. Yoga has breathwork techniques, psychology has breathwork techniques, the military has breathwork techniques, and like there's just a ton of them. The simplest that I can give you, because we're talking about nervous system regulation here, and typically most people are looking for a down regulation, meaning a calming, relaxing experience. There are plenty of breathworks for up regulation when you feel kind of too relaxed, too not enough energy. You can actually do breathworks to give you more energy. Here's the simplest way I can describe that. Breathwork techniques that concentrate on an exhalation, but prioritize exhalation, are down regulating breathwork techniques for the most part. Breathwork techniques that concentrate or prioritize inhalations are up regulating breathwork techniques. For today's class, we're going to start off with a down regulation technique. Here's all you got to do. Take a regular human being inhale, and then exaggerate your exhalation. Maybe you're thinking of blowing out, slowly blowing out candles or trying to cool hot soup or coffee. Short, quick inhale, exaggerated exhalation. Regular human being inhale, and then just notice how that one makes you feel. Do you like that breathwork technique? If you are brand new to breathwork techniques, I highly encourage you to just kind of stick there and play with that. For the rest of us, if you're kind of an intermediate to advanced, let's go into the physiological side. If you've taken any classes with me, you already know this one. It is likely the most researched of all breathwork techniques right now. Something we do all the time. In fact, normally your body does this breathwork technique every 3 to 5 minutes, whether you are awake or you are asleep, and you just don't notice it. How you do a physiological sigh is an inhale, a secondary inhale, and an exaggerated exhalation. The first inhale is usually big. Second inhale is usually smaller, but it's like a full capacity inhale. Exaggerated exhale. If you can go in through the nose, out through the mouth, all the better. Here's what it might look and sound like. Let's try 3 of those together. There's an inhale, inhale, exhale. One more. And then do a pause and do a check-in, whether it was something with your physical body that you noticed at the beginning, a cognitive thought you had noticed, or like an emotional, a vibe moment. Notice that. How has it shifted? And did you prefer the super simple exaggerated exhale, or did you prefer physiological sigh? It's neither one is right answer, neither one is the wrong answer. It is preferences and choices. But for you to simplify it, I would go, there's a category called breathwork. I put 2 different tools in that category today. Which one did I like better? Which one worked the best? And then remember that and practice it. And then over the weeks, you can start adding more in. You can also Google and read books and take classes and listen to podcasts and YouTube and all of this stuff and learn different tools to fit in there, right? First category, breathwork. Second category is sensory foraging. Sensory foraging is exactly what it sounds like. It is prioritizing the information coming in through your sensory systems, which means like sight, smell, taste, tactile touch, auditory sound, we edit out a lot of information. In fact, stats are kind of like at any given time, there are about 2 million possibilities for sensory input, meaning in your room right now, whatever room you are in, there are likely 2 million data points, uh, colors, shapes, sounds, smells, temperature, room, your clothing, what you're sitting on, the taste from whatever you drank or ate earlier. Your nervous system is kind of editing all that out. It's editing out that to about 100,000, give or take, data points, meaning there are almost 1.9 million data points that don't even make it to you, right? Your nervous system is just editing those things out. And then it's taking in about 100,000 of those. And at any given time, you are actively paying attention to about 7, right? So you got about 2 million possibilities in your room, and you are paying attention right now to about 7. So sensory foraging is a way to inform your nervous system that there's a world going on around you and that it's actually safe at any given time, right? And it's super simple. About 70% of us are visual creatures. So I'm going to teach it visually today. And over the weeks, we'll kind of expand on that. Here's what this might look or sound like for you. Start to take a look around your space and slow it down and just kind of objectively observe. You might want to just name the things in your space to yourself. If I was doing that, it would sound like there's some art in a wall. There's a light and some books and a bookcase and a plant and a mirror and another wall and a door and a closet and a plant and a window with trees and houses outside and the lawn and the street. I'm just looking. And that might be baseline. You're just noticing things in there. Then you can add a little color to it by literally looking at colors. How many colors can you name? If I'm here, it might be like black and kind of off-white, brown, like a light gray white. There's a green book. There's an orange and a darker orange, maybe like a peach and a green and black and yellows, kind of a taupey gray color, yellow and blue. You're just looking. And then maybe you even notice like some favorite colors. And those favorite colors might shift and change day to day. What's your favorite colors today? I'm really gravitating towards some like orange and red colors over here. And then my eye went down and there's like a hot pink thing down there. It's not important to name what it is. You're just noticing. Or you might notice something that brings you joy or pleasure. It might be a favorite family photo, a favorite piece of art, a cute dog or cat or a loved one, flowers, the trees kind of blowing, whatever it is. Just prioritizing the information coming in through your visual senses. As you notice whatever that is, just check back in. Check back in with whatever that baseline noticing was. Maybe it was you felt anxious or a racing thought. And by noticing a color or a favorite thing or just kind of letting your eyes meander through the space, how does that change your nervous system? And the good news is you can start to now compare and contrast. We started off with 2 different breathwork techniques in category number 1. Which of those 2 breathwork techniques did you like? Then we added a category number 2, sensory foraging. Today, visual foraging, orientation it's called. Which category worked better? Which one do you like better? Which one should you practice more of? How do you know which one? Well, you pay attention. It's a mindfulness technique. That's it. Super simple, and it's going to take some practice to get good at it, right? The next category is therapeutic touch. So we're going to start off by just bringing your hands together, getting them warmed. Take your nice warm hands, place them onto the jaw. Do you like that? Or do you prefer the throat? Do you prefer the chest? Do you prefer the belly? Or is it a combination? You prefer like one hand on the chest, one hand on the belly, one hand on the chest here. Here. What is your combination today? Or does therapeutic touch just feel irritating to you? Do you not like it? Because not liking it is an option, which means you can skip it. You can go back to a breathwork technique and go back into orientation. So I always start with like a warm, just heavy hand, right? This is just warmth and weight registering into your nervous system. Now, you might want something a little more heavy-handed. You might want like a containment touch. What does that look like? Well, it might be giving yourself like a tight hug. It might be sticking both hands kind of underneath armpits and just being here. It might be taking a hand or two and placing them over the eyes or forehead and kind of pushing in. Couple of different choices, all within the same category, right? So we've got therapeutic touch, and it can just be a light, kind of warm touch, or it can be something more contained, right? Like you're kind of bound up a bit. Neither one is right, neither one is wrong. Both of them might be wrong for you. Both of them might be right. It's for you to play with and discern. So first category, breath work. Then we have sensory foraging. We'll be adding more to that over the weeks. And then we have therapeutic touch. Next category is going to be movement. Movement can be really big, right? It can be exercise. It could be going for a run. It could be yoga, lifting weights, Pilates, mountain climbing, whatever it is, right? Really, really big movement. Movement can also be really small. Movement can be just rocking side to side, jiggling, any number of things. Here is the distinction of how movement transforms from exercise or just moving through space to an embodied somatic nervous system regulating technique or practice. Number one is it's intentional, right? I am doing this thing, whatever it is, on purpose to achieve some level of fortitude and resilience, some level of nervous system regulation, which means that while I'm doing it, I have to be embodied and at some level enjoying it. So let's talk about enjoying it first. Enjoying it is like a lot of people will say, oh, I exercise. For years, I taught clients movement practices. And they would say, oh, I don't actually like doing the movement practice. I like that I'm supposed to do it. I like that I've done it and how I feel afterwards. I would say that is totally fine. That is great. That is not a somatic nervous system regulating practice. You have to enjoy it whilst you're doing it. You have to be aware and have a pleasant feeling while you're doing it. So going for a run and hating it might be really good for your cardiovascular and endurance system, but don't be confused. It is not good for nervous system regulation. In fact, it might be doing the opposite. It might actually be making you more stressed. The same with working out, the same with yoga and Pilates. You don't enjoy it while you're doing it. It could be doing the opposite to your nervous system. You could be getting other physical and health benefits out of it, but it is not nervous system regulation. Meanwhile, something as simple as like rocking right and left may not be the best choice for losing weight and cardiovascular health and pulmonary health and all of the other things, but it might be exactly what you need for nervous system regulation. So it's really about creating a library of choices and options. And how do we discern that? Well, that's about being embodied. And embodied with a movement practice means having an element of what we would call interoception. How does it feel inside of me to do the movement practice? Which is something kind of difficult in Western society when we've been so accultured to ignoring how we feel a lot, right? So this is an invitation to pay attention to, do I like the way I feel when I'm doing these things? And so let's start simple. Start with that bilateral sway, right and left movement. And maybe you're noticing here nothing. Maybe you're like, I'm just doing the movement, but I don't feel anything. That's a noticing. That's a, look at that. I'm doing a movement and I actually can't feel the movement. Isn't that interesting? So maybe you pick one little area of your body to kind of pay attention to. Maybe it's, I want to feel it up in my neck, or I want to feel it in my low spine, or I want to feel the movement right butt cheek to left butt cheek, whatever it is. Maybe you're a little more nuanced at embodiment. So maybe you want to notice like the lungs and the heart, and the right and left. Maybe you're a more visual person. Maybe you want it to feel like seaweed or blades of grass. Maybe you've got more reps underneath your belt, more practice, and you can start to go, well, which vertebra are articulating and moving? And how does that make me feel? How do I prioritize paying attention to that instead of whatever thought is racing? Now, maybe you're not a right and left person. Maybe you're a forward and back. Maybe it's like a cat-cow moment. Extension, flexion, extension, inflection. To me, if I'm a visual person. So extension and flexion is always like blossoming open, closing up, blossoming open, closing up. It's almost like a peekaboo moment, right? Opening, closing. And maybe you want to go a little slower. Maybe it's a little faster. But notice as you're doing it, what information is coming through? Do I like the way it feels? Do I prefer this or a breath work? If it's the breath work, maybe go back to doing that one. There's not a right choice. And we're just exploring a library of options and choices. And you get to decide what it is you consume, what it is you practice. And then we're going to pause and you take that little inventory, noticing this thing happened. It makes me feel like this. This thing happens. It brings up this thought. It makes me feel like this. I feel like this, and I did that. How are these things related? Right? You're just trying to make those connections for yourself. Now, the last category is vocalizations. Vocalizations are just that. It's literally making sounds, which is, I find, often the most difficult one to do. Not practically, right? Not, oh, it's hard to make sounds, but emotionally. There's some like emotional friction for us. So start simple. It could be an auditory sigh. Could be a moan or a hum. Or just some sort of reverberation, some sort of sound, high pitched, low pitched, medium pitched. And just the sound itself. It's like you're getting something out of your system, getting something off of your chest. What can you allow yourself to do today? And if it's hard, why is it hard? Whose voice do I hear in my head? What is the friction for making sound? Why is that hard? And if it's enjoyable, why don't I do this more often? Why don't I make sounds more often. Things for you to explore and play. So again, the categories for you to explore and play are breathwork techniques, pick one, therapeutic touch, sensory foraging, movement, and vocalizations. Pick one or two, maybe three. The key to unlocking it is that mindfulness, that noticing. I felt this way, I did this thing, and I feel another way at the tail end. That is the guiding light. I'll stick around for whatever questions you got. We will keep exploring and playing and adding to these as we go forward. And all of this becomes the metaphor for cognitive reappraisal as we go forward. You are physically practicing what we will transform into a cognitive practice over the next few weeks. So keep playing and exploring. Again, I'll stick around for whatever questions you got. Sorry, Bob ran to the other room. It's lunchtime now. He heard lunch being made, so he's out of here. If you got any questions, now is your time. If not, I will see you next week. Raymond, we have a question in the chat that I think is geared towards you. It's about signing up for other classes, only signed up for this one. As I understand it, Jerry, if you received this class, you should have the link for all of Friday's classes. Wednesday classes, which are more of a movement-based class, midweek desk stretch, that is a separate link. But this will be the same link that we will use every Friday, if that answers your question. And if I'm wrong, Raymond, please correct me.
Nope, you're right. If you received the link for this one, there should have been two links, one for the other class, one for this one.
Yep.
However, give me one moment. My computer's a little getting some updates, so it's slowing down.
Yep.
Give me a moment. I will put both of the links back on here, and then I'll also put the YouTube link on it.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Well, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. We appreciate everything you do for us. Thank you, everybody. I'm signing off. It is my lunchtime. Have a good one. Bye for now.
Hey folks, those who are still on, I added the midweek class link in case you don't have the midweek one. And then I also added the playlist for the 2024 classes. The rest of the classes that we have uploaded thus far will be on our webpage or on our YouTube list. So feel free to just use the playlist and go from there because they're all on a playlist or different playlists. You can access through there. And then the 2025 classes have not been uploaded yet, at least not that I know of. Marketing is working on it. So that's it for me. If you have any questions, I'll stay on for another few minutes. Otherwise, have a wonderful weekend.